Yeah. How are you?
Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started this evening. We have 2 board members on their way, but we do have a quorum because we have Mrs. Ramich joining us over the phone this evening. Okay, so I'm calling this meeting to order. And first off, we're going to have a video.
It's been an exciting start to the 2022-23 school year. 13,000 students and staff kicked off the school year in a celebratory fashion. All across the district, music was blasting and high fives were abound. Dr. Bauer visited all of North Penn's 18 schools in the first week. One of Dr. Bauer's goals for the first 100 days is connecting with the community. There have been several opportunities so far this year to chat with the administrative team at community events this September, including the North Penn Mosque Community Day. Hundreds of brand new kindergarten students from the North Penn High School class of 2035 marched with parents and family in the Lansdale 150th Anniversary Parade. Almost all of them made it to the end of the parade route. Administrators and teachers also utilized time in the annual summer data retreat to learn more about some of our community partners and give back to those organizations that give so much to the students of the North Penn community. We are also proud to announce that North Penn High School has been recertified as a National Banner Unified Champion School by Special Olympics. Originally recognized in 2018, every school needs to be recertified by a national panel every 4 years. A Special Olympics National Banner Unified Champion School demonstrates a commitment to inclusion by meeting 10 standards of excellence, promoting collaboration, engagement, and respect for all members of the student body and staff. Congratulations to Melissa Froelich and the North Penn School Nutrition Services Department for being a leader and working tirelessly with our state legislators to secure universal free school breakfast for all students within the Commonwealth of PA. Melissa was on hand with Governor Wolf when the announcement was made this week. North Penn is usually a place for firsts. The high school theater department learned this week that they will be the first and only production of Disney's Frozen in the state of Pennsylvania. Through the nationwide competition, the United States of Frozen, North Penn High School was selected out of 300 high school applicants to perform the first and only production of Disney's Frozen in a high school in Pennsylvania. Stay tuned for ticket information early next year for North Penn's spring show, Disney's Frozen, the Broadway musical. For the past 2 years, students have been learning about Lansdale's hometown hero, Dr. Frank E. Boston, founder of the Lansdale Hospital and the Lansdale Volunteer Medical Service Corps. Today, board members and district representatives were on hand as Broad Street from Main Street to 309 was dedicated and renamed the Dr. Frank E. Boston Highway. The North Penn High School Chorus and Air Force JROTC were on hand for the celebration, which highlighted the legacy of Dr. Boston. To learn more about Dr. Boston and everything else going on in the North Penn School District, visit the North Penn Television YouTube channel or download the NPTV app on Apple TV, Fire TV, or Roku TV. Welcome to our regularly scheduled action meeting. In order to meet the requirements of Pennsylvania's Sunshine Law, it is necessary to record the names of all citizens who speak to the board during the meeting. To ensure compliance with this requirement, it is essential that those planning to address the board state their name and municipality. Members of the audience are asked to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. And now, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next up, we will have the audience of citizens. And Mr. Gilmer already read off the statement in the video. So I know we have a couple of people signed up for public comment this evening. They can go first, and then anyone who wants to speak after that may do so as well. Mrs. Braccio, I believe you're first.
into one hand, and pretty soon I couldn't really think about anything else. And pretty soon after that, I was hard, and she took her hand away, and I heard her opening some little crinkly package, and I felt her put the cool plasticky middle of the condom snugly on the front of my dick, like she was shrimp wrapping it, and I felt her fingernails through the plastic like the legs of a crab, fingernailing their way down my dick, and she rose up a little and adjusted her panties and breathed harder and opened her mouth, and her breath was like vegan fritters and farm animals, and her eyes were dark. And I saw them very clearly somehow, and her hair was stiff with chlorine and itched like straw on my face. The moment she put me inside her, I came. I mean the exact moment. Fuck, I said. I curled up around her like a snail and kept coming about 100 times. I said, fuck, 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 until she said, shh, and pushed me back down onto my back and just lay on top of me. And that was how it happened. That was on page 265. This is what I sent to you, Tina, this book called The Haters. And I had asked you in my email to please look at this and read it. This is a book that is in this school's library. Okay, this to me is XXX porn when somebody's describing a sex act. And actually, it sounds like this girl is basically raping this boy. So I just, now I want to just read it to you because I know you haven't looked at it yourself because you have not responded to that. So I'm just, again, going to ask you, why do you want a book that has, and I can read other excerpts if you need more. Do you want more? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Then she reached over and grabbed my dick. I mean, she really couldn't get a handle on it because it was in my pants and stuff. She more or less just grabbed a random handful of my crotch and gave it a little squeeze and let go. And the world as I knew it was basically exploded. That was on page 206. So here's page 305. Well, I'm running out of time. I can continue this in the next section, but now that you've heard some of it, I just would like to know why a book with this content is in a high school library.
Mrs. Brache, your time is over. Thank you. The next one up is Mrs. Gadd.
Roseanne Gadd Lansdale. Just as Christians are the hands and feet of the Lord, evil people are the hands and feet of Satan. Our kids have been enslaved by these public schools. Our kids have been exposed to lies. Our kids have been told how to think and what to think on a daily basis. Our kids have been exposed to complete evil. Who teaches our kids 25 to 75 genders? Satan. Who teaches our kids that being deceitful to their parents is okay? Satan. Who has put in certain public officials, principals, teachers, and counselors to teach DEI, CRT, and SEL into our schools? Satan. Who has put inappropriate books and ideologies into our kids' minds? Satan. Well, no longer. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2, when the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan. So today, we are serving the board with letters of intent to each and every public official on this board. I highly recommend that you read it because you have violated your oath, PA laws, federal constitutional law, and international laws. We are demanding that you stop all of this indoctrination into our schools. It is laid out exactly the demands that we have in this extensive letter. If it does not stop within 30 days, we will file a claim against your bonds and or blanket liability policy that you all hold, whether you know it or not. These schools have started a whirlwind of parents waking up to this crap. This means you could lose your house, your car, your job, your retirement, and never hold public office again if found guilty. Each of you are personally liable for a predetermined amount stated in your policy for damages per claim. If you are going to continue to listen to your solicitor who has given you false information, then you have done a disservice to yourself, to your school, to your community, and our children. If you think there is no recourse, I highly recommend you research all of the laws in this extensive document before you continue with your evil agenda.
Is there anyone else that would like to make public comment at this time?
Stephen Reinhardt, Lansdale Borough. Good evening, all. Honestly, I should far prefer attending my back-to-school night at Penndale. I should try to keep my comments brief so that I may rejoin my wife at Penndale. I would request that members refrain from commenting until I have concluded. I first have the privilege of acknowledging my father, someone who has fought for civil rights for most of his career. He bravely fought stage 4 cancer, and we will shortly visit him again, now in hospice. He taught me more about honor and integrity than anyone else. Also, as a former resident, and this might seem irrelevant, of Scotland for probably about 6 years, I should like to take the brief opportunity to pay a tribute to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. Her quiet leadership and ability to listen serves as a model to all. All right, regarding scheduling of three back-to-school nights on the same date and time, as you know, it's a tragic example of kind of the lack of responsiveness of the board. All board members should thank Superintendent Bauer for having the decency and honor not only to accept responsibility for this scheduling issue, but also implicitly for the board's necessary approval of such calendar. I spoke at the last meeting. The primary focus of my comments were that the board, despite protestations to the contrary, has, for reasons mostly unknown, become singularly insular and employs a CYA policy of unresponsiveness. I find it interesting that the only members who have contacted me, save for one or two isolated emails, are the same members who sought and won re-election last year. I have no desire to be at odds with this board or any of its members. However, if I cannot count on timely, honest, respectful responses, then I honestly start to wonder. Frankly, if it were not for the presence of Superintendent Bauer, Principal Hassler, and Principal Mueller, I think the district would be paying another student tuition at a charter school. Again, you all owe them gratitude. While when not a single member contacted me in the past month, not even to say, quote, I heard what you said and listening. This board should know that's the definition of unresponsive. To conclude, I wish to again apologize to President Stoll for indirectly referring to her as President Snow, having had considerable time to think about my error, ma'am. I believe in always correcting such when possible. You're far closer to Al McCoy. Have a great night, everyone.
Good evening, Mr. Lanier.
Good evening. Jason Lanier, Lansdale. Wanted to go back in time a little bit to your policy 320, which has to do with freedom of speech in a non-school setting. Not too long ago, you guys dismissed a teacher for posting "All Lives Matter." And yet all of you, well, not all of you, most of you, put a lot of political. You do two things. You talk about being a member of the school board, and you post political statements on your social media. I don't know why that's acceptable. I don't know what makes it okay to assume that everything having to do with this school board is for the Democrat Party, but you sure make it look like that. And to that, I have a question specifically for Member Fusco. Looking at your social media, you have a photograph posted of a woman wearing a shirt that says, "I'm the type of teacher that Fox News has warned you about." Now, I don't watch Fox News. I don't know what that means. So I Google searched what Fox News was warning about teachers, and was pretty alarmed at what I saw. I'm not saying that teachers are pedophiles, but what I am saying is Fox News was saying that quite a bit. It came up first on the searches. It was streaming as a conversation piece. I'm concerned that you would find yourself in alignment with a woman who seems to be in solidarity with pedophiles. Why else would that mean? What does that mean? I'm the type of teacher that Fox News warned you about? Honestly, what does that mean? So if you're wearing that, is that also reflect poorly on the school district? Not only this one, but Springford might be interested as well. But if you're wearing political statements such as, I'm the type of teacher that Fox News warned you about, and people bother to look up what that means, it's a pretty daunting message.
Are you a pedophile?
What is the point?
I think it's time for public comment. Please stop shouting out from the audience, or else you'll be asked to leave, okay? Great, thank you.
So
Mr. Lanier,
I think there
finish up,
should be some
please.
consistency in, if teachers need to keep to this statement of freedom of speech in a non-school setting, the board might need to as well, because you don't represent everybody's views. This school district and what you is being taught should be nonpartisan. It should be non-political. It should be about the fundamentals of education,
Your time
not
is up,
about your
Mr.
political
Lanier.
ideas.
Your time is up, Mr. Lanier. Thank you.
Dr. Bauer, Dr. Bauer, would you please
Mr.
address this
Raj,
statement?
please hold on one second. So I just wanted to make an announcement that Mr. Mikasa is also joining us via phone.
Dr. Bauer, would you please address this statement, the misstatement that we terminated any employee for?
I'll defer that to Mr. Summers. Go ahead, Mr. Summers.
Yeah, I would just advise the board not to comment on any specific personnel matters.
Please stop yelling out from the audience, okay? Thank you. All right, if there's no one else to make public comment, we will move on to approval of the minutes.
I would like to just quick respond. Mic, please.
Mr.
Podium mic, please.
Hello? Okay. You can approve the minutes from the last meeting. However, you cannot approve the minutes for all of the committee member meetings because they don't post all of the votes on the committee member
We're
meetings.
not approving, we're approving the minutes from the August 18th
And then your
action
next
meeting.
line of order is to go on to committee reports.
Mr. Lanier,
Right,
those are
it's
simply just
just
reports.
Reports, as they always are, which you should
But you
probably know.
can't bring them up to vote unless you voted on them,
Your
right?
objection is noted. Have a seat.
This is an important aspect of the
Mr. Lanier, your objection is noted.
What is the rule?
Mr. Lanier, your objection is noted. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No,
No.
I don't. Thanks for asking.
Can we have a motion to approve the minutes from the August 18th meeting? Okay, thank you. Motion by Mr. Fusco, seconded by Mrs. G. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on then to the committee reports. First up is personnel. The Personnel Committee of the Board met on September 6, 2022 to discuss matters of personnel, including the appointment of staff and staffing considerations. End of report. Next report is finance. Mr. Fusco, is your mic working?
Nope. There's slide yours over. We're going to get one.
Is it- oh,
Thank you. Or whatever. All right.
At the September 6, 2022 Finance Committee meeting, which was an in-person meeting, the financial reports were reviewed in addition to the following items. Governor Wolf successfully championed a one-time 70% enhancement of the Pennsylvania property tax and rent rebate program for individuals applying in 2022. Funding for the $140 million enhancement is coming from federal stimulus funds. North Penn's award-winning rebate program provides a 75% rebate match of the state rebate amount up to certain limits. For homeowners, the rebate maximum, as authorized by a board resolution in February, is $731.25. And for renters, the maximum is $487.50. Homeowners may not receive rebates from the state and the district that would exceed the total real estate taxes paid. The committee recommended amending the resolution to provide a 75% match of the one-time enhanced rebates at the state. The item appears on tonight's agenda. Mrs. Kristen Johnson provided the quarterly update on the various sources and uses of the federal stimulus funding. Mr. Skoraki discussed the Act 1 index for the 23-24 fiscal year, which is 4.1%. Mr. Skoraki discussed a possible transfer to the Capital Reserve Fund and fund balance commitments. This topic will be discussed in more detail at the October Finance Committee meeting. Lauren Yu will be joining the Finance Committee as the student rep for the school year. We look forward to her joining us. The next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 11th at 6 p.m. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Fusco. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, we will move on to Safe Schools. Mr. Casa is not, oh, he's over the phone, so we'll have Dr. Lewis Campbell. Would you mind reading off the report? Which one? The Safe Schools. Mrs. Wesley. Okay, Ms. Wesley, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The Safe Schools Committee met on Monday evening, August 29th. Mr. Dorr summarized the Bus Patrol Automated Stop Arm Enforcement System, which was presented in detail at the July Safe Schools Committee meeting. The contract agreement between North Penn and Bus Patrol, which is required to begin implementation of the system, is in the final stages of review by the Solicitor's Office. Once complete, it will appear on a future action agenda for full board consideration. The next meeting of the Safe Schools Committee is scheduled for Tuesday, September 27th, in a virtual format at 5:45 p.m. End of report.
Thank you, Mrs. Wesley. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, we will move on then to the Education, Curriculum, and Instruction Committee. Dr. G, please.
Sorry. The ECI committee met on Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. During that meeting, Mrs. Megan McGee-Heim, Director of Special Education, presented a more in-depth description of the special education plan for 2021 through 2024 than that which was reviewed at the committee's July meeting. The plan is aligned to the vision for the district as well as to IDEA. In addition to supporting students in the least restrictive environment, the plan also focuses on inclusive practices, alternative and relevant discipline practices, partnering with parents and families, and professional development objectives. There are specific targets to be achieved during each year of the plan. The committee also reviewed 2 student trips, which are on the agenda for approval this evening. On October 4th, 2022, the ECI committee will hold its next meeting. End of report.
Thank you, Dr. G. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to policy. Mr. Resch, please. Mr. Resch, microphone, please. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. The Policy Committee met on September 13th. Its ongoing review for policies for the district has regressed to the 700 series. This series concerns varying types of property in the district's possession. At the committee's meeting this week, 5 policies were reviewed and discussed. Those policies are 702, gifts, grants, donations, 702.1, crowdfunding, 708, lending of equipment and books, 709, building security, 717, phones. All these policies are on this evening's agenda for a first read. The next meeting of the Policy Committee will be October 11th at 5 p.m. in a virtual format. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. Next up will be the Facilities and Operations Report. Mrs. Wesley, please.
The Facilities and Operations Committee met on Monday, August 29th, in a virtual format. The committee reviewed the following items to be moved to this evening's action meeting for the board's consideration. 1 change order for the Knapp Elementary School project. The committee was presented and discussed informational items, which included the high school and ACT Club presented their ideas of sustainable features for future renovations, which was an awesome and detailed and prepared presentation by these students. Much appreciated. Also, too, we heard an update on the Knapp Elementary School project. The next Facilities and Operations meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 27th, in a virtual format at 7 p.m., and that is the end of the report.
Thank you, Mrs. Wesley. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, we will move on to the North Manco Technical Career Center. Dr. Lewis Campbell, please.
Thank you. The North Manco Joint Operating Committee has not convened since our last report, but will meet this coming Monday, September 19th at 7 p.m. End of report.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis Campbell. Next up is the Montgomery County Intermediate Report, and Mrs. Ramich will read that one off over the phone. So go ahead, Julianne.
Great. Thank you guys so much for letting me do this virtually, and hopefully the sound and audio is okay.
It is.
So the MCIU board met on August 24th and appointed and welcomed new board members. The MCIU board always starts the meeting with a program highlight, and this meeting's program highlight was an update from the Office of Patan East, which stands for the Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network, which provides support throughout the Commonwealth. Dr. Speaker also shared that the MCIU was proud to welcome more than 50 new employees at the new employee orientation on August 18th. And the MCIU staff gathered at North Penn High School. Thank you, North Penn, for letting the facilities be used on the morning of August 22nd to celebrate the first in-person opening day since 2019. So there were several board members, and including Dr. Bauer, present for that. The MCIU board approved budget items, Head Start Supplemental Assistance Program project budgets, and approved supportive service agreements, and received and learned about human resource updates. The next meeting of the MCIU board is Wednesday, September 28th. End of report.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramich. Next report will be the North Penn Educational Foundation, and that is Mrs. Ramich's report again.
Great. The foundation met last August 17th, and at the time enjoyed a presentation at the North Penn High School Planetarium. In the spring, the planetarium received much needed technology upgrades that the foundation helped to fund. Same week, the foundation also greeted North Penn School District teachers and treated them to Rita's Water Ice. This annual tradition is a time to tell our new staff about the foundation and to encourage them to apply for our grants. The week ended with packing and delivering close to 300 backpacks, thanks to the Build a Bag drive. Thank you to district administration who helped this year and everyone who donated items. October will be busy. First, the annual Unite to Inspire staff giving campaign will begin. Those who donate can win awesome prizes, including Eagles tickets and paddleboards. Then on Tuesday, October 11th, we will hold our 21st annual golf classic at Tallamore Country Club. We are looking for players, sponsors, and volunteers for this popular event. I would also like to thank Univest Bank for pledging to be our premier sponsor again this year. Speaking of Univest, the foundation accepted the resignation of Morgan Cooper, the vice president at Univest. We thank Morgan for her time on the board of trustees. Finally, the foundation will be accepting mid-year grant application. Staff can look for an email by the end of the month for more information. To learn more about all things foundation related, please visit npennfoundation.org or contact Christine Lebrowski at the ESC. End of report.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramich. The next report is the legislative one, and Mr. McBain usually does that one, but he's not here this evening, so I will read that off. The Pennsylvania House and Senate will soon reconvene for their fall session, which will last just 10 and 12 days respectively, but may still yield changes to school policy. Election season is upon us once again. Please take advantage of the quintessentially American opportunities that will come in the months ahead to meet and engage with candidates who seek to represent our community. Election Day is November 8th. Please make a plan to vote. End of report. All right, that ends the committee reports. So next up, we'll have the Solicitors Report. Mr. Summers, please.
Thank you. No report this evening.
Okay, that was easy. Dr. Bauer, we will go with the Superintendent's Report.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I did want to offer one point of clarification from the public comment from Mr. Reinhardt. Back to school night for the 3 middle schools is taking place right now, and that was wholeheartedly my mistake. I scheduled that with the principals. It is very difficult to schedule back to school nights with all the events we have going on in all of our schools and the athletic events, all the back to school nights for 18 schools, plus all these committee meetings. He insinuated that it was your fault. It was not. It was mine, just so you know.
Much like Mr. Reinhardt, I would have enjoyed attending back to school night at Penndale as well, since I have a 7th grader. So you're forgiven.
Thank you. It won't happen again. Trust me.
No worries.
Just a quick point of clarification or question. We do attempt to try to schedule the elementary separate from the middle and high school, and that's part of why we, sometimes end up crossing over on other events, correct?
For example, Inglewood students head to Penndale, right? Inglewood and Penndale and the high school are not all on the same night because families could have kids in all 3 schools.
Yes.
So
Thank you. I just want to make sure kind of the community recognized that there was a reason why you would schedule to feeding areas from elementary to middle to high school.
Right.
So.
Yep. Thank you.
It's no easy task with all the schools that we have to work with and athletic activities and other extracurricular activities and the holidays. So thank you. I don't consider it a mistake at all. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I'll start off with the consent agenda, items A through L. Item A is adoption of policies, B, repeal of policies, C.
Can you state your objection?
Objection is that how can you repeal a policy or adopt a policy when the votes given in the committee meetings is not posted?
Your objection is noted. I would note for the board that the action that the board takes is not dictated by action that a particular committee may or may not take. The board has every right to take action on policies that are before it, but your objection is noted.
C, adoption of policies for a first read, a notice of intent to repeal of policies, E, alternative placements, F, gifts to the district, G, contracts, H, a resolution to approve myself as a signatory, I, student agreements, J, bid awards for winter athletics supplies, K, bid award for an SNS 2023 cargo van, and L, approval to advertise for request for proposals. Excuse me.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Fusco, seconded by Dr. Lewis Campbell. Any comments or questions?
Yes, President Stoll. I have a question on 6C, which are brand-new policies that have been, I guess, recommended by PSBA. Is that correct?
So these are the policies that were reviewed on Tuesday evening's policy committee.
Okay.
Yes.
So PSBA, so I'm learning here. So they make recommendations to school districts for new policies, and we typically will adopt or create a policy. Do we use their language or we modify it?
Yeah, great question, Ms. Wesley. So we contract with PSPA for policy services. They provide model policies. They assimilate our student handbooks, staff handbooks, employee handbooks into these policies. They're then reviewed internally with Mr. Summers and the administration and other stakeholders. So for example, if it has to do with nursing, we would have the nurse department chair there. and we review the policies internally. We then review them with Mr. Resch, the department chair, or the committee chair, who gets feedback from the committee, and then they go to the policy meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Great question.
I have a question on 6J.
Go ahead, Dr. G.
I just wanted to know, I see the bidder and the bid amount, but not what it's for. Like what the bid is for.
I don't know, Mr. Scrocky, if you happen to have those specific. I see who the vendors are.
Right.
For example, BSN Sports, DJB Specialties. I'm assuming we're talking basketballs and uniforms and.
We are. I don't have the list here with me, but this is how we typically present the document. We're showing the amount that would be awarded to each contractor. And with the exception of 2 items, everything is being awarded to the lowest responsible bidder. But it's basically, as Dr. Bauer just mentioned, it's for athletic supplies for the winter programs.
Okay, thank you.
I'd be happy to provide a detail list if you'd like.
You don't need to spend your time on a detailed list. I just wanted to get a sense of what it was because I wasn't as familiar with the bidders. Sometimes when you present it, I recognize the bidder and therefore I kind of know what it's for. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. G. Thank you, Dr. Scrocky. Or Mr. Scrocky. Sorry, I gave you promotion. All right, we have a motion on the floor. If there's no further questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. What is your objection now, Mr. Leonard?
Objection is you have committee meetings which you are to review these documents.
Sir, you already stated that objection.
Hold on.
No, you already stated that objection.
I realize that, but how do you know that what you're voting for if most of these members up here have not reviewed what the committee has done?
Your objection is not an objection under the Sunshine Act. It's not permissible at this time. You're certainly free to expand upon that during the second comment period if you'd like.
Have a seat, please. Mrs. Braccio, please stop yelling out from the audience. It's not public comment time. Okay. Moving on to the non-consent items. Dr. Bauer.
Yes, Mrs. Stoll. The first item is recommend approval of personnel items as per the attached.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. G, seconded by Mr. Fusco. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and with that, board members, I would like to bring your attention to my left, the House right. We have 2 gentlemen that were approved this evening as part of the administrative team. First, I'll introduce Mr. Brandon Roan. Brandon will be the coordinator of emergency management and safe schools, replacing Mr. Durr. Congratulations, Mr. Roan. And next, actually, I'll let Mr. Scrocky give this introduction. Mr. Scrocky.
Yes, I am saddened that Mrs. Kristen Johnson will be leaving us as the Assistant Director of Business Administration, but I'm very, very happy to announce that with tonight's resolution, Mr. Ron Linke will be joining our business office team. Welcome, Ron. We're looking forward to having you on board here at North Penn.
Okay, and next, I recommend authorizing the administration and the solicitor to petition the Montgomery County Court of Common Pleas to approve Mr. Brandon Roan as a school police officer for the district.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fusco and seconded by Dr. Lewis Campbell. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the next item, item C, is actually an informational item, and it's simply acknowledgement of the appointment by myself of Mr. Roan as the school safety and security coordinator for the district. Pennsylvania state law requires that each school district have that position, the school safety and security coordinator, and they are to be appointed by the superintendent. So no vote required, just acknowledging and notifying the board of that fact.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Resch.
If anybody in the community wanted to see his qualifications, are they posted somewhere that they can review his qualifications?
We could absolutely do that. Typically what we would do, Mr. Resch, is a welcome via social media or on our website, a press release. North Penn Now and the Reporter could put something when we have new administrators, so we'll certainly circulate that. And I believe Ms. Liberowski's in the audience.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is item D. I recommend the approval of change order 24 to Lobar Incorporated in the amount of $0 for miscellaneous changes during construction by having a contractual change made to apply the unit cost allowance 1B to this change order. I also recommend the approval of deduct change order 4 to Cedar Electric Incorporated in the amount of $42,445, excuse me. Keep in mind that's a deduct, for the unused allowances that were part of the contract.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fusco and seconded by Mrs. Wesley. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, I recommend the approval of the attached amended resolution for a real estate tax rebate program for qualified homeowners and renters for the 22-23 fiscal year.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Second. Motion by Mr. Fusco, seconded by Mrs. Wesley. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item up for vote is to approve the amendment of the employment agreement between myself and the school district, a copy of which is on file in the office of our Chief Financial Officer.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fusco, seconded by Dr. G. Any comments or questions?
Just in the interest of transparency, Dr. Bauer, can you explain what the change is?
Yes, there is a provision in the superintendent's contract in North Penn and in most neighboring districts for the school district to provide a vehicle. But providing a vehicle right now is very difficult. So I am, in turn, purchasing my own vehicle. And this provision gives me a stipend for that expense.
Thank you.
Yes.
Are there any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next I recommend the approval of the contract for the North Penn Healthcare Center site work to S.J. Thomas Company Incorporated through the Gordian Group in the amount of $297,426.12.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Wesley, seconded by Mr. Fusco. Any comments or questions?
President Stoll, I was, Mr. Scrocky, just for the community, the Gordian Group and the opportunity here that we can utilize this expedited process. I think it's something that is great that we do, and I'd like them to know a bit more about it, and not to put you on the spot, you know, other opportunities where we would be able to use this going forward.
So this is a state contract, and I just want to rewind a second because last month the board actually rejected the formal bid that we had for the site work for the healthcare center. The bids came in, or the bid, I should say, came in a lot higher than expected at $682,000, and we didn't feel comfortable moving forward at that price level because it was more than twice the amount of the estimate provided by our engineers. So in an attempt to get creative and to save costs, we were getting proposals from a statewide contract, also known as KPN. It's a statewide purchasing network. And KPN partners with a particular contractor, and in working with them and providing the drawings to them and the scope of work and so forth, they came back with a price that was substantially less than the original bid that was rejected last month, and also less than the engineer's estimate. So what we have before you tonight is a contract with the Gordian Group for an amount less than $300,000. The engineer's estimate was about $333,000. So we do use these statewide contracts from time to time when we're faced with somewhat of a challenging situation. In this particular situation, it worked out very well for two reasons. Number one, of course, we got a much lower price. But secondly, we were starting to fear that the opening of the healthcare center may be pushed back until spring of 2023. With the contract with Gordian, we're hopeful now that they can start the site work probably late October, which means that there's still a glimmer of hope that the healthcare center may still open up maybe in late December, mid to late December of this calendar year. So we're quite pleased with this. We've used this contract for roofing projects in the past, so it is quite beneficial. Many times we have to just kind of monitor because they're not always cheaper than a bid, This time it was substantially cheaper than a bid. And there was only one bidder last time, and a lot of times bidders know if there's not going to be much competition, they have a sense for that. They see who's at the pre-bid meeting, they try to escalate their price. They only need to be the lowest bidder on that particular bid day. They don't need to be a low bidder, just the lowest on that particular bid day. Only having one bidder, it's not surprising that the prices were dramatically inflated. So this really worked out for us in moving the healthcare center forward.
And going forward, because of our capital plan and the number of items and the small percentage of money that we have, this would be something that we would look at regularly?
It's an option for smaller projects.
Okay.
It might seem like a $300,000 project is a large project, but for a school district, it isn't.
Right.
So this would not be, common to do if it's a multi-million-dollar project.
Understand.
But for smaller projects, absolutely, it's always an option.
Okay, all right, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Clarification.
Thank you, Mrs. Wesley.
Was the facility site work discussed at the last facility operation?
This is not an opportunity for public comment. There are
What's your objection? State it. State it.
It's certainly part of the Sunshine Law. If you guys are bidding and making contracts without public view,
That's not what
that
we're
is certainly a
doing. Please
Sunshine
go on your
Law
house
violation.
seat.
Your objection is noted.
Noted.
So,
Move on.
Mrs. Stoll, who's the second? I apologize. Ms. Wesley made
I'm
the motion.
Mr. Fusco.
Thank you.
So a motion is on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And the last item in the superintendent's report is recommend the approval of the bid award for the North Penn Health Care Center electrical work to the lowest responsible bidder, MJF Electric, in the amount of $95,700.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Wesley, seconded by Dr. Lewis Campbell. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, President Stoll.
Thank you, Superintendent Bauer. All right, next up will be the finance reports from Mr. Scrocky, please.
Thank you, President Stoll. As was mentioned in the video tonight, we are excited to report that there will be free breakfast for all students statewide. And I want to give a particular shout out once again to our own coordinator of school nutrition services, Melissa Froelich, who was really at the forefront of the statewide advocacy effort to provide this. This will go into effect on October 1st and run through the end of the school year. It should be noted, though, that North Penn was ahead of the curve, and our school board did approve free breakfast for all North Penn students back in June when the school nutrition services budget was passed. In addition to that, the board approved for reduced paying students that they also receive free meals this coming year. So we are appreciative of Governor Wolf's efforts with this, and perhaps it'll be continued beyond the 22-23 year. We'll see. We certainly have a champion on our team in Melissa, so great job, Melissa, for your efforts. With the board's approval of our expanded rebate program tonight, I just want to announce that for those individuals that did receive a tax rebate from North Penn School District, you won't need to do anything. We will automatically generate additional rebate checks to those individuals that already received a check from North Penn. And that's pretty similar to what the state is doing with their expanded program. They're just automatically reprocessing the initial application and sending out new checks. Our local audit starts on Monday. That is our annual audit that is conducted once a year. We will have a report from our auditors at the November Finance Committee meeting. And I did report at the last Finance Committee meeting that our state performance audit has concluded, and we are awaiting the final report from the Auditor General's office. I do want to report also that oral arguments were held today by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court regarding the assessment appeal litigation dealing with the Wilson School District in Berks County. You might recall that North Penn School District and several other districts filed an amicus brief in this case dealing with this uniformity challenge. So we're hopeful that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court will rule in favor of the school district, which will allow North Penn School District and other districts to continue to monitor under-assessed properties and then take assessment appeals on those properties. I'd like to let the board know that we are in our final phases of selecting a municipal financial advisor for North Penn School District. We conducted an RFP, and we've completed 2 rounds of interviews, and we have our final round of interviews next Wednesday evening. So we do anticipate a recommendation regarding a financial advisor for the school district, and we'll probably make that recommendation at the October work session. In terms of the treasurer's report for the month of August, North Penn received cash receipts in August totaling $148.4 million. Cash disbursements for August were $12.3 million, leaving us with total available funds at the end of August of $207 million. And that is roughly $24 million higher than last year at this time. And the majority of that difference is simply the timing of the posting of real estate tax payments at the end of the discount period. So, President Stoll, I'd ask for approval of the Treasurer's Report for the month of August 2022.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fusco, seconded by Dr. G. Are there any comments or questions?
I would just state, our appreciation to our School Nutrition Services Director for advocating for the free breakfast for all students. I think that's just really a big deal. I mean, obviously, we were doing it already, but now that will be something that we'll be able to offer just all students across the state. So it's nice to see that we were in the forefront of that once again. So just our appreciation to Melissa for her work on that.
Thank you, Dr. G. And Mr. Scrocky, did you mention, I'm sorry if I missed it, that the rebate program, they extended the deadline to December 31?
Yes, this is a common occurrence at the state level. So any individual may be eligible for a Pennsylvania property tax and rent rebate. The state did extend the deadline from June 30th to December 31st. So at North Penn's program, you certainly have quite a bit of time. Our deadline is June 30th of 2023 to submit your application. But if you haven't filled out your application at the state level, you still have a couple months remaining.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Motion on the floor. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next up we have sanction and approval of invoices. And these are for the month of August. And they totaled $13,538,999.83. We're asking for ratifications of these disbursements.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Fusco and seconded by Dr. G. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, for informational purposes, we do have our monthly financial reports posted. These are for the month of August. We do review these in more detail at the Finance Committee. Just for the public, I do want to let the public know that the Realty Transfer Tax here at North Penn School District continues to be quite impressive in terms of the amount of real estate transactions in North Penn School District. We hit an all-time record month for the month of July, where we collected over $1 million in real estate transfer tax. So it was roughly 40% of our budget in 1 month. So it's quite remarkable. We continue to think that rising interest rates will help mitigate the sale of properties, but we haven't seen it yet here in North Penn School District, at least. That concludes my report. President Stoll, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scrocky. All right, next up will be other business. Under that, we have the PSBA elections.
So for the school board, there are a number of elections, leadership positions that are up for election this year through PSBA. There is a link in board docs. It will let you know that none of the positions are being contested. So I'd be happy to cast a ballot in accordance to those individuals that are on the ballot. I do want to note that yours truly is on the ballot to serve on the school board secretaries forum. This would be a re-nomination for me. I'm just completing a 2-year term. That would extend my 2-year term. So I would encourage you to vote for everyone, including myself, since I'm on the list. Please don't vote no for me on this so I can cast the ballot. But we are recommending just, if you're comfortable, just casting the ballot for those individuals that are presented, since nothing is contested.
Thank you, Mr. Scrocky. I think we're comfortable with that.
Okay, so there would still need to be an official motion of casting the ballot, and then I'll submit on the behalf of the board to PSBA what the vote was. Then,
okay,
please.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fusco. I'm sorry, was that Mrs. G or Dr. G? Dr. Lewis Campbell? Dr. Lewis Campbell. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck in your election, Mr. Scrocky.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have any other business this evening? Nope, seeing none. I saw in the news this morning that we had some National Merit semifinalists named, so I want to congratulate them, and I apologize in advance if I mispronounce anybody's name, but it's Irene Chung, Gigi Dinesh, Ryan Huang, Joshua Kim, Aditi Kwatwa, Marianne Matthew, Johnny Meng, Annabelle Pearson, Hansana Pereira, Yash Prabhu, lost my list here. Nathania Princely, Jeanette Sue, Esha Valaga, and Catherine Wan. So I want to congratulate them and wish them well for the spring when they pick the finalists. All right. If there's no other further comment or other business, we will move on to the second audience of citizens. If there's anyone who wants to make public comment, now is your time to do so.
Are you ready to give me your attention, please? Thank you. Pauline Braccio, Thompson Township. The healthcare center is in one location, which I understand is next to the Penndale Middle School. And I'm very confused. Is there someplace where I can go and look this up? Because if there's one location, it's the healthcare center for the school district. What happened to school nurses in each school? Are they going to be let go? How do the students get to the healthcare center when most of the students in the school district are going to be under 18 or even under 16? So how would they get to the health? Am I missing something here?
Yeah, Mrs. Braccio, it's strictly for employees. It's for the adults.
Okay, so it's not for students to
Correct.
attend?
That's correct.
Okay, well, that's a relief. Thank you. I want to know who agrees with this statement. Don't judge an adult who wants to have sex with a 5-year-old because it's perfectly natural. Do any of you agree with that statement, that it's okay, that you should not be worried about an adult wanting to have sex with a 5-year-old? This was in the news. I just want to know if any of you agree with that. Mr. Fusco, do you agree with that, since you had that picture on your social media? I'm very concerned about this. You call yourself an educator. I don't know, are you a
Mrs.
teacher
Braccio,
in the school?
Enough.
All right, let her,
Stop.
let her spew. Go ahead.
I have another minute and a half to talk, and it is very concerning to me. So, yeah, I want those few seconds back, by the way. Anyway, so I can move on. I have a New York Post article here from June of this year, and it's about teens who wanted to transition and then they wanted to detransition. And one was Chloe. She was 12 years old when she decided she was a transgender. At 13, she came out to her parents and she underwent a double mastectomy. And now at 17, she wants to detransition, but now she can't do anything about it. When you do this to a child, it cannot be reversed. And when you have teachers promoting all these genders or transgendering, and this is what they transitioning to a different gender, and they do that, okay? And teachers are actually taking it to a point where they have the children, don't tell your parents we're talking about this. And they're convincing children to transition. I don't understand why first you have these books, because you have books about that too in your libraries, and then you have these filthy porn books. This is like XXX porn. Are you really for that? And if you are, you have no business being in the charge of children. Thank you.
Please let it go.
Jason Lanier, Lansdale. Again, back to the policies. You guys need to square this policy 320 and whether or not board members are excluded from social media posts that are highly charged political statements or worse. Wanted to talk about a couple other policies, going back to policy 218. If you're not aware of that, that's student discipline. And policy 832, that's education equity. Do you know what they have in common? They were passed on the same day, March 18th of 2021. Interestingly enough, the equity plan includes the discipline plan, meaning it refers to it. Now we fast forward looking at your discipline statistics after this was passed, and you'll notice on page 9 of this presentation that you guys put forth, fights among students has increased. Now this is only from August until January. I'm not sure how many days are in August school year, not too many, but August to January, so we'll call it 6 months. Fights prior to this policy being adopted were at 25 over 6 months. They skyrocketed in 21-22 to 81. That's 325% increase. Now you guys try to tell me that this is about feeling included. Why is fighting on the increase? If kids are not feeling safe around one another, there's sort of the natural fight or flight mentality, right? The psychological decision. You're having more kids fight now because of your equity policy. You're lowering standards because of your equity policy. We've talked about this. I can bring all the documents from your own presentations. I want to know what the benefit to this equity policy is. On your last presentation, it was this week, you had equity, a distribution of equity in teacher distribution. I don't even know what that means. How is this benefiting any kid in this school? You are eliminating standards, they're fighting with one another, and supposedly this is beneficial to them. I contend that this is a political drive, and you guys are pushing a political narrative. Every one of you is. And if you don't know, that is forbidden in the school code. Section 1505-E, prohibited instruction.
Mr. Lanier, your time is up. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to make a public comment this evening? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.